David Bowie there. That sounded like someone was groaning because that's Anthony Andrews. He's a bit fluey and coldified from the look of things.
No, I'm not at all. I've just opened...
I came in, you're blowing your nose. I'm assuming...
It's in sympathy with your soggy red nose, I think.
OK, yeah, I was very snotty yesterday. But that was David Bowie, of course. So on the sweepstake, if you're playing along at home, that was roughly about just before 10:45.
Yeah.
That came on. Anthony's writing a cheque out.
I am, because I'm proving to you that people do it the following morning. Because you said last night on TV they don't do it.
Well, part of that is to encourage them to do it right there, right then, of course.
Know.
But, I've done that in the past. Haven't you done that where you think, I'll do it tomorrow morning, and you don't?
I know. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But I made a mental note, and I actually picked up one of these cheques, and now I'm doing it to you right now from Family Andrews.
£1 squillion.
What's the date? What's the date?
15th.
He's signing Jeremy Irons' name on that cheque. That's going to bounce.
15th of March.
You see, look at that. You can see Anthony Andrews, proper posh.
Well, look at that cheque.
Look at that cheque. I've never seen such a cheque. It's a beautiful thing. Wow. Thank you. Shall I say how much it's...
No.
Okay? Wow. If you initial it, I could change that to my name. Then I wouldn't need to do this show for another month. That's incredibly generous of you.
Nonsense.
Thank you so much.
It's incredibly generous of you guys last night. God knows what time you all finished.
I'll be honest with you, I only do it because I want to pump my career going. Seriously, the only reason I'm there every time... I'll be honest with you.
But you're iconic already. Here I am in the presence of an icon.
Does iconic mean you're not actually funny? I think that's what it means. I think it means you're there because they can't get rid of you. Actually, let's not talk about that right now, although Comic Relief, obviously, it's still going on, and essentially, and if you can, give something. If you didn't give something, please do it like Anthony just did. I didn't make a donation yet. My wife made a donation on my behalf. I'm going to make one as well.
Good for you.
I'm going to match yours. I'm going to raise you. We can't play poker. I'll leave that there, and we'll sort that out in a minute. Anthony, thank you so much for coming in.
Great pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you for getting me up so early on a matinee day.
What time is your matinee today?
2:30.
2:30. So you are, of course, you're Dr. Henry Higgins.
Professor.
Presumably Professor Henry Higgins in the Theatre Royal Drury Lane's production at the moment of My Fair Lady. Well, actually, when I say it's production, that's not the name of the company. Who if you were to say it's so-and-so's production, who would it be?
I suppose it's the National Theatre and Cameron Mackintosh's production. So they're a combination for this particular act.
It's a class act, then. They're the big men that get involved.
It's the big men. Yeah. It's the big men. So I'm deeply honoured, deeply privileged, and I never thought it would happen. I mean, this is a long-term dream. I've harboured this little dream since I was 10 years old. I stood at the back and watched Rex Harrison and Julie Andrews in 1950, when my cousin took me to Drury Lane. In those days, you could stand in the theatre. They used to pack people in at the back. And I couldn't see much because I was so short, but I had to keep parting the ways and finally getting a view. And ever since then, we went twice, actually, went back and sat right at the very, very, very top in the Gods the second time.
And what was it about that production, then, that made it so good? I mean, what was it about, for example, Rex Harrison on stage that people, responded to?
Well, I think that at the time, the show itself was a phenomenon. I think it was a phenomenon for the same reasons it is today. It's this extraordinary, unique blend of what was already established as pretty well a classic play.
Yeah.
Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion, this merge of these extraordinary words with music in such an amazing way. The lyricist's job is always to try and blend words and music, but to take Shaw's words and make them actually part of the lyric itself, is quite an extraordinary achievement.
So who wrote the music and who wrote the lyrics? Who was the collaborative team?
Lerner and Lowe.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Two of the greats.
Two of the greats.
Wow. And how many great songs in there. Last week we were talking here, we had Paul Nicholas on, we were talking about Fiddler on the Roof, which has its fair share of great songs and great moments.
Absolutely.
But My Fair Lady, I would have thought probably, in terms of the actual quality of songs, the bang you get for your buck there, this, I think it must be one of the most consistently entertaining shows available.
It is, and it's the most exhilarating feeling every night. And I underestimated it, inevitably. I mean, you're so wrapped up in doing the work and getting it rehearsed and getting it on, somehow you just don't get the full impact of it until that moment when you walk out at the end of the show and you realise just how much the audiences are carried by it.
Yeah.
It's sort of, it's one of those stories that will last forever.
And what are the moments that the audience really respond to? Presumably it's when Eliza comes out and she becomes this, she's transformed.
Yeah, absolutely. They love the transformation. Yeah. I mean, and funnily enough, the interesting thing about it, I'm discovering, is that, and Trevor was on about this in rehearsal, that there are two transformations. In fact, there are more than two transformations, but there are two main transformations in My Fair Lady. It's not just the transformation of Eliza, it's the transformation of Higgins, of course, from this selfish kind of bully tactic character that he is into someone who eventually succumbs to the charms of Eliza.
Now, who is the charming Eliza you have on stage with you? Who plays
Laura Michelle Kelly, and absolutely stunning she is too. Very young.
I read about her. She was the one. She was discovered by Andrew Lloyd Webber, wasn't she?
Yes, I first saw her in Whistle Down the Wind. And she was sensational in that. And she's done virtually... She's taken over quite often in various West End shows, so her career at such a young age has been major roles around the West End. So now she's playing a lead in her own right, and she's quite sensational.
And you've got Russ Abbott in the show with you.
We've got Russ, yes, which is wonderful.
Now there's something, because Russ, of course, I grew up watching Russ on TV. Well, not really grew up, but I was already grown, I guess. But I remember him, he was with the band, was it the Black Abbots he was with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he had his own shows, of course, and he had his own comedy characters.
He's wonderful.
But he is actually a very talented actor as well.
Oh, he's a tremendous actor. He's a tremendous actor.
Didn't he have hair plugs? He's had the hair plugs done, hasn't he?
Did he really?
I think so. I think I saw him once.
Possibly
and
tell.
the light called his forehead in such a way. And when people have that done, it looks like someone's had a potato with a spud gun. He's taken the bits out of the back and put it in the top.
Well, he doesn't look like that now.
Maybe it was me. Maybe it was my eyes. It was the light. There was a dimply look on the forehead.
It was a foggy morning.
It might have been cellulite on the forehead instead, and I responded to that. It was an orange peel effect. I upset someone there, and I apologise. Let's talk about some of your older stuff, because everyone, and this must follow you around, of course, because it was such a classic production. You know what I'm going to say now.
You're going to say Brideshead Revisited.
No, I was going to say the other one. But no, let's start with that then. Was that any good? You see the vanity of the man. You see that?
Yeah.
It's just the thing
He thinks everything was great.
It's wonderful when people think something else is great.
Well, I'm sure this is. But Brideshead was, wow, that was phenomenal, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, it was one of those extraordinary, unique things which will never happen again. And when you think that we took 2 years making it in the middle of production strikes and God knows what else, and Granada hung in there and kept pushing money at it, it will never take place again. And the opportunity also to do a book in its entirety. We started off with 6 ordinary TV scripts for 6 hours. We ended up with 13 and a half, I think, after a sort of almost 2-year shoot. So, I mean, it's just...
But you'd think they would learn from that and say, OK, well, the level of commitment that we showed to that and the kind of the risk we took paid off. It paid off big time. It was a huge success at the time. It still is talked about. It presumably sells through on video and DVD today.
Absolutely.
And that's why, because it was such a quality piece of work and they didn't tamper with it too much.
But I mean, the trouble is the equation doesn't work. And in modern, when you start accounting it now and trying to budget it now, it's an impossibility. I mean, television per hour, the per hour rate for making television has gone right up.
Everyone, I think at the time, I remember, because of course it was on ITV.
Yeah.
But it seems, in the way we look back on these, I always remember it as being on BBC, because BBC made those sort of shows.
You and all the Americans, everywhere you went in America, they used to call it the BBC show, and you had to make a point of pointing out that, it wasn't a BBC show at all.
Well, the Americans don't think we have any other channels. Years ago, when I used to work for Channel 5, I used to go over there. I used to lie in sales with the BBC. We even had some cards made up with BBC on it, because otherwise they wouldn't talk to you. It's
true.
They think otherwise, you're making it up. But it was tremendous. I mean, everything about it worked. The music was fabulous.
Jeffrey Bergen.
It was directed by, who was the director? It was
Charles Sturridge.
Charles Sturridge, who started out on Coronation Street, I believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then Jeremy Irons was no mean, co-star.
No, not at all.
And who was the bloke who played the stuttering guy in it?
Nick Grace.
He was great.
He was fabulous.
Yeah. That's all I remember. It was I could do quite a good impersonation of the time. It was slightly better than that. But that sums it up. That's essentially the performance he gave. I mean, maybe there was some light and shade in there.
Nicholas will shoot you.
That's not... People think he's here with us. Jeremy Irons, now, he's an immensely talented man. I get the feeling he's a bit nuts as well.
Well, he's always been eccentric. I remember Jeremy turning up at rehearsals when we first met, and when we did several things together when we were very, very young. And he used to turn up in kind of, knee boots and breeches and things like that at the old Acton Hilton when you were just about to rehearse some play and things. So he's always had a kind of eccentric side to him.
Yeah.
That's perfectly true.
Yeah. But a great actor.
Yeah.
Made many fine movies, of course, and he was doing something for Comic Relief last night. I think he was in the Harry Potter thing that we saw. I know essentially he didn't do anything for Comic Relief last night.
No one asked me. I was busy on stage, of course.
Gave us a check this
Mind you,
morning to Sal.
we did Rustin Ford, and he made his speech on the curtain.
Oh, that's nice.
We were all supposed to be issued with red noses during the show.
Oh, that would have been great.
I thought that probably might mean a suspension of disbelief a touch too far, but nevertheless, we were going to put red noses on. I think it was for the curtain call, actually.
It would have undermined a little bit. Now, I've got here the details here. This is what I have for you, Anthony. This is the details I have about you. You were born in 1948. That makes you what? That's 2 to 50.
Old.
Then it's 50. Then it's 55.
Old.
55. Yeah, but you look great. Look, doesn't he look great for 55? All your own hair, from the look of things from here.
Absolutely.
Okay. All your own teeth.
Yeah. Well, no. The face of this one is not the same.
So that's been replaced.
That's been replaced. Yeah.
Have you ever been tempted to go the American route and get the dazzling white? You know, the ridiculous white.
No. I've had such trouble with this one. They put in the what do they call it? Veneers on the front of this one. I think I'm going to leave them alone now. I've had my fill of alterations.
When was the last time you went to the dentist?
Something like last week, I think.
Oh, I thought that was a great question then. For me. I thought I had you on the ropes. I haven't been for too long. My dentist Victor will be listening, nodding his head sagely.
Isn't it funny? Everybody says that. And nowadays, the funny thing is, it really doesn't have to hurt at all. They're really sweet people nowadays.
I don't know if they do.
There's still that
anymore.
terrible image. Remember Larry Olivier in was it Marathon Man?
Marathon Man, yeah.
Oh, my God. Wasn't that extraordinary?
Is it safe? But, I don't think dentists really do much anymore, because toothpaste is so good these days. I think it does it all for them. I think they just pretend. They make the drill noise near your teeth, and they probably rub your tooth with a finger.
Well, your sparkling gnashers look like they've been...
Thank you so much. What about dental hygienists? Where do you stand on them? I find them irritating.
Where are we going with this?
I don't think they do anything.
Well, they'd be irritating if you stand on them, certainly.
But they just sort of pick at your tooth with a toothpick. Surely you could do that yourself. And then they get paid.
But it's high power. It's just a funny thing to want to be, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it. I mean, if you sort of get up in the morning one day and you've done your A-levels and you've done your stuff and you say, now, what am I going to be in life? And you say, I know, a dental hygienist.
I'm glad
That's always amazed me, I have to say. So I take my hat off to all dental hygienists.
That's nice of you. I personally think they've made up the job. This is quite controversial today. It's just like Jeremy Vine sitting home saying, why couldn't I have had that topic? All right, we'll move on. I sense you're losing interest. So when did you decide to be an actor then? We were talking about people deciding to be dental hygienists, and this seems like a natural thing to me.
Well, I think because I think it was at school, really, although I didn't know it at the time, because I had an English master who... I was dyslexic, so I was a nightmare. I was way behind everybody else. I was always, I was in the corner, I was the dunce, I was the idiot, I was the one all getting, moaned at the whole time. But I had an English master called Quibble Smith who decided one day that I was going to be in the school play. Now, I was in the fourth form. Nobody in the fourth form ever got in the school play. It was only sixth formers. Yeah. So I had to run the gauntlet of disapproval anyway. But he gave me this enormous speech, and I'm supposed to be a Greek goddess on the battlements in a Greek tragedy.
I'm getting a bit worried about your relationship with Quibble. Can I just... He's chosen an underage boy, OK? But let's face it, he was a good-looking youngster. We know this for a fact. An underage blonde boy, and he said... Tony... I'm assuming he spoke a bit like this. Am I off the mark? I see you as a goddess. I want you in a toga.
Well, he did me a big favour. And the reason he did me a big favour was because he said, you can do this. And he taught me to learn the speech and get up and give it. And to be able to speak like that from the written word was something that actually made me turn a corner. So.
But as you mean in terms of your dyslexia?
Yeah, and confidence and all of that. And I think it planted a seed, and then after school, I can't wait to get out of school, so I left school, did 1,000 other things, and, all sorts of different jobs in between, bit of journalism, bit of this, bit of advertising, bit of farming, bit of this, that, and the other. Role-playing, really. Yeah. And then eventually I walked into the Chichester Festival Theatre and got a job as a stagehand. Shifting scenery. But
it's interesting because, people with dyslexia, they tend to find different ways of getting around things and dealing with, what is essentially a major difficulty in their life, a major obstacle.
Absolutely.
And so presumably performance is what did that for you.
Absolutely, right. Without a doubt.
God bless you, Quibble, wherever you are. Is Quibble still with us, do you know?
I met him. The most extraordinary thing was I went to a girls' school to I think it was to open a drama department or something.
Anthony, I'm going to stop you there. Hold on to that. This is a bit of a cliffhanger. We have to go to the news.
Okay? What happened to Quibble?
After the news, there'll be a track, and then we'll find out where Quibble is now, what happened when Anthony met Quibble at the girls' school. OK, that's coming up.
Yeah.
You might want to phone a friend. OK, 88 to 91 FM. This is Radio 2 for the BBC. I've forgotten. Who's that?
Dandy Warhols.
Oh, of course, they're very good. I saw them live once. They didn't sound anything like that. They did just lots and lots of experimental stuff. You don't really want that, do you? Anthony, do you like the popular music?
I do.
Which sort of bands do you listen to?
I'm not sure if I'm big on bands at the moment. I mean, I'm still stuck with people like Faith Hill and my favourite kind of rock stroke country mixes and things like that.
I can imagine that. I can imagine something that goes well. I bet you drive a 4x4.
I do drive.
Like a Jeep or something like that. I can imagine you with wellies on. a hacking jacket,
listening to country.
You know what I'd like you to do, if you don't mind? When you go out later on, put some gangster rap in very loud, crank it up.
Okay.
Just give people, defy expectations.
I will. I'll wind down the windows.
Because when you come and see, a bit of gentle country, or maybe, you'd expect that. But if we hear, "my bitches" and all that, people go, "Wow, look at him. It really is Danger UXB." That was a great series.
Goodness me, you remember a lot.
That was a great series. I really enjoyed that. Who was that? Was that ITV or BBC? I can't remember.
That was ITV too. That was ITV. That was Thames Television. That's going back, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? But while we're speaking about going back, would I be right in thinking, because before Brideshead or during Brideshead, around that period, you were in a lot of other television plays.
Oh yeah.
And it strikes me that and maybe this is just nostalgia, or maybe it's just the way your memory works, but it strikes me that period, the 70s, seemed to be the most fertile time for drama on TV.
Without a doubt. I mean, I used to get these extraordinary trips to America to do these publicity trips and things at that time. And, they were full of it. I mean, the fact of the matter was that worldwide we were considered the greatest producers of television drama anywhere, and it's sadly been dissipated somewhat.
But it's strange, because I know there are very talented writers working for television today, people like Tony Marchant, and there are series like This Life and Teachers and shows.
There's phenomenal writing around, yeah.
And yet there doesn't seem to be that level of experimentation or kind of genuinely interesting and provocative work of the sort that.
Well, the thing that changed everything, of course, is if you cast it right back to Maggie Thatcher's idea of suddenly doing this thing of sorting out the franchising for the commercial TV stations in a different way, selling them off. I mean, that was the thing that changed everything. Because before, I mean, what they used to do, the commercial TV companies like Yorkshire and Southern and whatever they were, would all get round a table virtually over a sort of boardroom lunch, and that's how they would network stuff. They'd say, "Listen, we've got something we'd like to put on a Sunday evening," and somebody said, "Oh, we've rather fancied that slot for our major piece of drama, but we'll take Mondays and Fridays then," or whatever. Remember, they'd sort it all out like a sort of gentlemanly agreement. And the result was that people and individual stations would put money into and thoroughly back a particular idea, and also a coterie of creative people who were under constant employment.
Because they knew where it would be going.
Yeah, absolutely. They were virtually in control of it. But once that was sold off to the highest bidder, the name of the game became producing money, and the consequence of which is you need to produce programs with the lowest output and the maximum viewing figures to attract advertisers. So the consequence of which is that the quality dives.
Another example of how capitalism is eroding the quality of our life. I never had Anthony down as a Bolshevik. And yet a radical thinker. But Dennis Potter, these people like this is what I was rambling on about. That kind of talent, is that still out there? Where are they writing?
Yeah, no, I think it's there, but it's just not tapped. I mean, I think there are very good writers that are young writers who are around, and thank God for places like the Royal Court that still nurture people like that, who give people the opportunity to actually write plays and think of subjects and do in-depth studies of things that they need to be able to do, because otherwise there'll be nowhere else to do it. And it's from there that people grow into television and into films and to other things.
Here's something I've often wondered. It's a performance like yourself. You're on stage 6 nights of the week, I guess, doing My Fair Lady at the moment, and one matinee. When do you get the chance to see other performers? When do you get the chance to see other plays?
2 matinees, Wednesdays and Saturdays. He said, trying desperately to save a voice for this matinee this afternoon. That's 2:30.
That's a grind then. So that takes up an awful lot of your time, and presumably the other matinees that the other shows are doing on roughly the same time. So is there time for you to go and see new work?
No, not really. Not really. It's quite a taxing show, this, in no uncertain terms, and so the consequence of which is you're not really ready for anything.
Well, hold on a second. How long does it run for? The show itself from start to finish?
It's just on 3 hours, I think.
3 hours? Come on, for some of that you're sitting down? It's not that hard, really, Anthony. I mean, this is 3 hours long. We're talking rubbish for 3 hours.
Come see. You'll see the odd bead of sweat trickle down.
Come on, you never sit down, I'm sure. There must be like a wee break or something at some stage.
15-minute interval.
He's out the back lighting up. Oh, I'm exhausted.
God, those were the days.
You don't smoke. Do you drink?
I used to smoke years ago. Do I? Yes, I drink.
You drink heavily?
No, not really. I like the odd glass of...
Is it a problem?
Is it a what?
Is it a problem?
It's not a problem.
Come on, you can share. Often, the first step is the hardest. But once you make it...
Giving up smoking was the most difficult.
How did you do that?
1 hour at a time.
But did you use the patch? Did you use acupuncture, psychotherapy, anything at all? Any backup?
Well, I suppose it was psychotherapy in a sense. I did a play which nearly drove me insane once at the National, with Maggie Smith, and we used to at that time she was trying to give up, so she was smoking those silly little things with what collects the nicotine at the end of the cigarette.
I know the ones,
those
funny little
holders, which look absolutely revolting. And so every time we lit up, and you light so many cigarettes when you're rehearsing because you light them and you go back and you do another scene, you put it down. Or whatever. So we were smoking packs and packs between us. And every time I lit a cigarette, she'd take it out of my mouth, stick it in one of these holders and put it back in my mouth again, trying to get me hooked on these holders. It just irritate me so much. But it made me conscious of it. And then when we opened this very troublesome play at the National, they do this funny thing at the National. They suddenly bring something else in because it's all repertoire. So you suddenly get a 10-day break right at the most important part of a play's life. You know?
Yeah.
So I went away to the mountains, I think, for a few days with my wife, and we turned up, and I went to the bar, and I ordered a large drink when we got there, and I used to smoke cigars too. I was on the big the Monte Cristo.
I like a cigar occasionally.
God, I really missed those. Anyway, the point is that I got to the bar, and I thought, I feel so ill. I feel like I can't breathe at all. I'm here in this wonderful mountain air. I'm going to stop. So I put down the cigar, put down the drink, and I thought, that's it. And then I just did it the following morning, 1 hour at a time. I was so thrilled that I got through breakfast without a cigarette.
So you used to start first thing? That's pretty disgusting, really, lighting up first thing in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Did you used to smoke before breakfast?
No, I think I could make it to the end of breakfast, but that was about it.
Oh, that's horrible.
Mind you, this is all, thank God, 17 or 18 years ago. So
now
I'm clean.
Your lungs will be as clean as Michael Jackson's cheeks. Pink and fresh. I was just reaching for something that doesn't really work, but you know what I'm saying. They'll be lovely.
Not quite.
Your lungs will be lovely now. You could start again.
New canvas.
Go on, let's buy him a cigar. Go on. Anthony, what's your favourite song? When you're doing... Anthony Andrews is here because he's currently to be found at the West End. And I'm genuinely going to go and see this because it's a fantastic... musical. It really is. My Fair Lady. I mean, the movie I love. I've never seen it live in the West End. I've heard the sets are spectacular on this. It's at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. Anthony Andrews with Ross Abbott and some young lady whose name I've forgotten. But
Laura Michelle Kelly.
Okay,
the beautiful Laura
Still it hasn't registered, but she's lovely, I'm sure. He's playing Henry Higgins. It's, for you, what's the nicest moment? When you're on stage, what's the best song, the best moment for you as a performer?
Oh, that's very difficult, because each one of them are so different. I think it has to be I've Grown Accustomed to Her Face.
Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah.
Because, apart from anything else, I've got through the show when I get to that point.
Right near the end, and you know.
So I can take a deep breath and we're into it. And it's part... And it is, for me, of course, the realisation, because it represents the transformation of Higgins. This is the big dilemma.
So in terms of performing, it's I would have thought the most demanding, but also the most interesting and challenging part of the evening.
Yes, it's the crux of the evening, yeah.
Have there ever been times, for example... Are you a fan of the television show 24?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Here's what I'm wondering. If that was on, I mean, it's a Sunday night at the moment, so you're spared of that, but if it was on, say that was on Monday night or Tuesday night, and you know it's starting in 10 minutes, would you speed the song up a bit? Has that ever happened?
You can't speed it up.
But you could speed up the dialogue.
Mind you, our conductor has been
Never mind the rain in Spain, get a move on! you could do that, couldn't you? Well, that was quick.
Cut.
Go on and off in an hour.
My conductor was complaining at me the other night that I was getting ahead of the music, so maybe there was something I was
You were trying to get
pressing.
Anthony, I'm going to get rid of you now, because we've got a competition to do, and you need to rest.
And you've got the great Michael Richards.
We've got Michael Richards coming.
I've worked with Michael Richards.
What did you work with?
I did David Copperfield with Michael Richards, and he played Micawber, and very few people know that.
I didn't see... What was that for television?
No, the awful tragedy was this was directed by a great Hungarian director called Peter Medak. And we did it for America, but we shot it in Ireland, of course. And it was a beautiful film. But the reason it didn't get seen in the UK was because the BBC put theirs out.
Of course.
That particular month, or whatever it was, and so they didn't buy it.
Oh, well, I'm sure we'll get to see it eventually, though.
Yeah,
it must be, is it out? Has anyone else bought it, or is it...
Yeah, it had an enormous success all around. I think it got Emmy nominations and everything.
I will say hello to him for you when he comes. Have you been to see him? He's on the West End at the moment.
No, I haven't had time to get to him because I've been rehearsing.
That's the tough part of the actor's life.
We can't let Anthony go anyway.
Why not?
We've forgotten about Quibble.
What? Oh, Quibble! We've got the story of Quibble.
We're going to have to play a record.
Quibble Smithy.
Well, hold on. Let's build this up. The tension continues.
I can't remember where we got to.
I should imagine Quibble
now... girls' school. Where is he now, Quibble? Quibble Smith.
Well remembered.
Yes.
I knew there was something going on there, head of yours.
I wish I could come up with a decent ending for this story.
That's a good track, isn't it? I like that. Lucinda Williams, that's marvellous.
Up my street.
Yeah, it's nice. Anthony Andrews is going to tell us, before he dashes off, he's off to do Loose Ends, which will be on later, and he's got his matinee today, so he's a busy man. But we've made him hang around because we were halfway through a momentous tale about Quibble, who was the man who actually kind of encouraged you. Is that right? He saw the potential in a fourth form Anthony Andrews, a beautiful young blonde boy, no doubt. Put you in a toga. Is that right? We had you as a goddess. You were swathed in swaddling robes or something. Yeah. Okay. Where's Quibble now?
He's... Well, last scene...
Is it Quibble with a Q or with a K?
With a Q, but Quibble Smith. It's a hyphen name.
Is that natural name? Oh, it's his
Smith.
second name, Quibble.
Yeah.
What a great name.
So he would have been... something Quibble Smith, I suppose.
Yeah.
Last scene, sitting on a lawn at a girls' school, surrounded by a bevy of beautiful gym-slicked souls. And he was now... But he was... The odd thing about it was I think he was teaching a completely different subject, like maths or something.
Quibble had been found out and moved on. Quibble, if you're listening, we wish you the very best. Or if you're...
Indeed, we do.
If you're paths have crossed with Quibble, which is a hard sentence for me to say. I just wish Quibble the very best. Anthony, it's been an absolute pleasure spending time in your company. I wish you the very best and continued success with My Fair Lady. It's on at Theatre Royal, Drury Lane. It sounds like an excellent production. I'm going to come and see it. Thank you so much for coming. Good luck with Loose Ends and good luck with the matinee.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thanks a lot.